the senator from Vermont has told Zohran that he should not talk about Israel so much. It's not a good thing politically. I don't agree with that. I think you should talk about it as much as humanly possible. So here is a clip, first from Zohran sitting with Stephen Colbert right before his election.
The state of Israel have the right to exist?
Jen, do they?
No, in fact, they do not have the right to exist.
I was just checking.
I support the vision of Israel as a Jewish and democratic state.
Mr. Mamdani, same question. Does the state of Israel have the right to exist?
Yes, like all nations, I believe it has a right to exist and a responsibility also to uphold international law.
Okay, well, let's talk about the elephant in the room, is that there are many people in New York, even people who would support your candidacy otherwise, who don't want to support you because of the Jewish community's fear of the true and rising anti-Semitism, not only around the world, but in this country and shamefully in New York, which is the largest Jewish population of any city other than Tel Aviv.
This is me playing the world's smallest violin for those Jewish people. Right. Okay. Sorry. Continue.
In the whole
I
world.
agree.
And they are worried. They're very upset by some of the things that you've said in the past. And they are afraid that your mayorship would actually lead to increased anti-Semitism, that they believe that that would be more dangerous for them. What do you say to those New Yorkers who are afraid that you wouldn't be their mayor, that you...
So let me. I'd say you're a bunch of fucking bigots. You're a bunch of fucking bigots. That's what I would say. That's what I would say to those people. That you're bigots. Anywho. Okay.
You know, Steve, all this time that you kowtowed to corporate special interests to get that $15 million a year paycheck is now no more. So maybe now that you aren't getting that money, maybe you'll tell us how you really feel about what's going on, instead of taking these fucking talking points and saying, oh, yes, absolutely. Let's talk about Israel and how unsafe these Jewish students feel and how these wealthy Upper East Siders feel. Meanwhile, you're committing a genocide. Period.
You wouldn't protect them.
You know, I know where that fear is coming from. It's a fear that is based upon the horrific attacks we've seen in Washington, D.C., in Boulder, Colorado. It's a
all the way from Jews will not replace us to today.
And it's a fear that I hear also from New Yorkers themselves. You know, just a few days after the horrific war crime of October 7th, a friend of mine told me about how he went to his synagogue for Shabbat services, and he heard the door open behind him, and a tremor went up his spine as he turned around, not knowing who was there and what they meant for him. I spoke to a Jewish man in Williamsburg just months ago who told me that the door he left unlocked for decades is now one that he locks. And ultimately, this is because we're seeing a crisis of anti-Semitism. And that's why...
No, it's because those people that are doing that, if they didn't do it prior to October 7th, are snowflakes. That's why. They're just uncomfortable because nothing has changed in terms of their level of safety, anything having to do with anything since then. So, you know, that's just, yeah, that's why. He's being overly generous right now is what I think. He's being overly generous.
He is. We'll finish it up.
At the heart of my proposal for a Department of Community Safety is a commitment to increase funding for anti-hate crime programming by 800%. Because to your point, anti-Semitism is not simply something that we should talk about. It's something that we have to tackle. We have to make clear there's no room for it in this city, in this country, in this world. And
no justification for violence of any kind?
No, there is no.
Yeah, that includes the Palestinian people, Stephen.
Well, the fact that he felt the need to add that, like, you need, including no violence, like, what is he talking about? By the way, Stephen Colbert has never been funny on his own. He was only funny in his character on the Daily Show. And that was a character that he played. We liked the character. Once he started actually just being himself, he's not been funny. So I don't understand this. This is very annoying to me. He's like trying to box him in.
We'll finish it up.
No room for violence in this city, in this country, in this world. And what I have found also from many New Yorkers is an ability to navigate disagreement.
There is disagreement, but then there is taking things to a point where it makes absolutely no sense. What Bernie Sanders told Zohran Mamdani about anti-Semitism and pushing back on Democratic leaders. but also to more carefully address what he said about Israel. Sanders, who is Jewish, like we didn't know that, urged Mamdani to be cautious about how he approaches talking about Israel. According to a person familiar with their conversation, Sanders told Mamdani he had to do a better job explaining that his criticism is not anti-Semitic and to not let himself seem like he's minimizing the fear Jews in New York and elsewhere feel from the threat of hate against them. Jen, why would Jews be facing any type of hatred right now? Do you have?
Well, obviously, yeah, we know why, but again, I don't know that they are. I don't believe this. I have not seen or heard first-person testimony from a person that felt fearful, as a Jewish person that has felt fearful for their safety. I have not seen it. I have not heard it. All I hear are people saying that there's people that feel like that. So I don't know that. I don't necessarily believe it. I think it's a ridiculous talking point. I cannot fathom a fucking reason why any Jewish person in this country would feel fearful. And quite honestly, at this point, if you do, you should just end it now, because you will not survive this fucking world. That's what I think.
But it didn't end there, because this was a clip from, I believe, 1 or 2 nights ago where Zohran went on with, I forget the gentleman's name. I think it comes up on the queue. But bottom line, they're now getting him to talk about not saying the term globalized antifada. Well, first of all, it's not like he said it, but even if he did, to pretend like you don't know what it means, which is free Palestine in another connotation, whatever. But this is what they're spending their time on when they interview.
Phrase that might not be central to the conversation becomes a stumbling block. How would you, as the mayor of all New Yorkers, how would you sort of bridge or navigate that?
I think by refocusing on what has caused so many New Yorkers anguish, especially in this moment. You know, it was just a few months ago that I met a New Yorker in Brooklyn who told me of how more than 80 members of her family had been killed by the Israeli military in Gaza. This is a devastation that many New Yorkers are feeling personally. It's one that for others they are witnessing on a day-to-day basis. And it continues until today. You know, just last week, NBC News reported that the Israeli military bombed a health clinic in Gaza, killing 10 children, including a 1-year-old who had just uttered his first words hours before. We are speaking of a place that is now home to the greatest number of child amputees in modern history. And what offends so many in our city, this horror, is one that is subsidized by our country. And
now that was a great statement. And I understand that he has to play the role of politician. I understand people's fears and concerns, but like I said, to this point, the one thing that he's done that we agree on was not a good move was hiring one of the true Democratic.
It's all downhill from there. What happened to us?
You touched something.
I didn't mean to. All right, here we go. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
But I think it is obvious that Zohran is trying to do what he can to navigate this minefield. And we do have to give him some grace, but for the love of God, they are not going to let up on painting him as an anti-Semite. And at the same time,
trying to weasel their way on the inside and convert him over to be a shill for them. It's both things are happening at the same time.
100%. Guys, there is a genocide happening right now.
Can I talk about this? Anti-cult, it's not antifada, it's intifada with an I. And it is not, well, I mean, I guess it also would be anti-fascist, but the intifada is a term for rise up. It means rise up, revolution, and it's been done very non-violently in the past as well. So the fact that they have their panties in a bunch over where, and I love when they call it the intifada, because that's what all of they call it, the intifada.
Half a frittata. There you go.
Yeah, but an intifada it's not anything other than people standing up. in whatever capacity. So, again, this is all just so absurd. It's just, and so these people are so ignorant.
Well, I love that they're freaking out the way that they're freaking out. Like, to me, that's a great sign. I like that they're concerned.
I mean, yeah, I like that they're concerned. Again, the big concern I have is who he is surrounded with and who he has hired and the direction that they're taking it. And what this is starting to look like right now isn't necessarily backtracking on stuff that he said, but even the level of clarification that he's feeling the need to give is a little bit too it's a little too soft for the fucking snowflakes. Pull on your fucking big girl pants. People would stop not liking you if you weren't such a fucking pussy. That's what I feel like with these people.
Yeah, but they're not going to stop. But here's hoping that Zohran crosses that finish line. It's going to be a hell of a ride. And we've got, what are we in, July?
Exactly, Rob. That's something that I find very frustrating too, is that when people get called out, so Rob saying it would be great if Zohran explained the meaning of intifada to the masses. Exactly. And this is something that's really I didn't mean to do that, Trevor. This is something I've been saying for a really long time. And this was particularly frustrating to me. If you guys remember back when they were questioning the university presidents about what was happening on campus and do you speak out against this and how do you support that? And not one of those people took the opportunity to tell them what intifada actually means, that is an anti-Semitic. None of them actually said it out loud. They all just sort of played mealy mouth and just sort of tried to like nobody takes the opportunity to educate people on what they're talking about and call them out. So when you have some moron like Elise Stefanik sitting there saying to you, well, do you support a genocide or do you support genociding the Jews by saying something like, the intifada, long live the intifada. And instead of one of those women saying to her, well, that's not what that means. This is what that means. They just don't. It's so frustrating. Yes.
And the one thing I will mention about Colbert before we go is that his show was costing $100 million a year, and it was losing over $40 million a year. And that's why it's been booted from network television, because it's not profitable in any way. And again, it's one thing if it's a break-even show and people just happen to like it because they think it's delivering some type of a political message that's helping the Democratic Party, which of course has been the intention for the past probably 6-7 years, maybe even longer, probably since the election in 2016. His show is not good. And what's amazing is his show is good compared to somebody like Jimmy Kimmel, who I hope is next. And so these corporate talking heads, it's going to be over for pretty much all of them.